Okay, let's talk about crates and crating. I made a video that has gotten a lot of attention. It got a lot of attention the first time I posted it. I reposted it last month, and it talks about species typical sleep needs for dogs, which can be surprising to some people. Dogs up through adolescence need about 18 to 20 hours of sleep per 24, and then we see that again in seniorhood. Adult dogs typically get 12 to 14 hours of sleep per day. There are a lot of different variables that go into when different developmental periods start and end, including sex, size, health, when the dog is altered. And obviously, dogs don't go from sleeping 20 hours a day to sleeping 12 hours a day overnight, and they don't go back from sleeping 12 hours a day to 20 hours a day overnight when they enter seniorhood. So there is a lot of nuance to this conversation, but it's an important conversation because a lot of my clients are sleep deprived. I work with dysregulated dogs, so dogs with anxiety disorders, hyperarousal, chronic stress, trauma, and often they are not getting enough sleep. And this is particularly true of those dogs in adolescence. Oftentimes they will be incredibly sleep deprived, sometimes even sleeping less than what we would expect to see in an adult dog who is done with that physical development. And in the comments section, a lot of people are talking about why this is a justification for crate training. And in some comments has been taken a step further to say that it is okay to crate dogs 18 to 20 hours a day or 12 to 14 hours a day because they should be sleeping anyway. And that is not what I'm saying. So I don't have a problem with crate training. I think it can certainly be a useful skill for a dog to be able to be comfortable when confined. There are many times in a dog's life where that may be a skill that they need to have, and we can increase safety and reduce stress if that is something that they are practiced and familiar with, such as riding in the car, potentially being kenneled at the vet, if they have to travel overseas, or I guess just on a plane in general. I also believe that we should always be looking for ways to increase our dog's agency. And crates significantly restrict agency. They restrict bodily autonomy, and they remove a lot of options from the dog's plate. And so if I am working with a dog who is frequently crated, that might be something that we continue to lean on, particularly in situations where I'm working with a dog where that's the only place that they can get sleep, and for dogs who are comfortable in those spaces, with the goal of needing the crate less and less. We want that dog to be able to feel safe in other spaces and to be able to fall asleep and stay asleep in other spaces. If I am working with a dog who is not already acclimated to a crate, we're usually looking at other forms of confinement that allow for more agency if we are looking at confinement as part of our management. Many dogs with separation-related distress, hyperattachment, separation anxiety have comorbid confinement anxiety, and many dogs with hyperattachment, separation anxiety, etc., have other comorbid behavior problems. And so many of my clients have separation-related distress and the comorbid confinement anxiety, and so confining them is contraindicated to their hyperattachment needs and confinement needs. So all of that is to say, and by the way, I chose the comment that I chose because I actually love this comment. The comment that I'm using to make this video says, my dog asked to take a nap in his crate mid-morning and likes brown noise. And yes, he asks because he likes using his communication buttons. I think that's gorgeous use of a sanctuary space, gorgeous use of a crate. I love that the dog feels safe there, can rest there, can ask to go there, and can ask for additions to the space, like brown noise as a noise blocker. I also love brown noise. And so I used this comment because I love it. This is not a comment that I find problematic at all. and I wanted to use that rather than one of the many, many comments that seem to be implying that it is okay to crate your dog for somewhere between 12 and 20 hours a day, which is not true. So the thing is that dogs typically sleep 8 to 10 hours or so overnight, and then the rest of their sleep is happening on and off throughout the day, usually in like 60 to 90-minute blocks, and then they're getting up and doing things in between that time. And so we can meet those species typical needs for sleep, ideally without having them confined. If the dog needs confinement to sleep, that is a bit of a red flag. In my clients, a lot of times that might show up as being incredibly sensitive to sound or movement in the house, to the point that they can't rest or relax if there's anything else going on. Or they may not be able to stop engaging in behaviors that are keeping them up, increasing their stress levels, pacing, jumping, spinning, vocalizing, that sort of thing. And sleep hygiene very quickly becomes a medical issue. And so for these dogs, we are often working alongside their veterinarian to support them in being able to sleep better, as well as working through behavior therapy to achieve the same ends. And one thing that you'll hear is, well, my dog needs to be crated for their safety. If my dog is left uncrated, then they will, destroy the house, for example. And I think a lot of times that gets misunderstood as boredom, when again, often we're seeing like separation related behaviors or stress due to noises outside of the house, or things like that, in which case the dog may not actually be feeling better inside of the space. Their behavior is just more manageable. And that's a really important distinction. And so if I have a dog who cannot be left out of the crate, I want to know why, and I want to look at that more closely. So I just wanted to be clear that in that video, while I am talking about our dog's sleep needs, I am not suggesting that your dog should be crated for 8 to 10 hours overnight and then another 8 hours during the day. That is a long time to be confined to a small space, and not have the ability to engage in other species typical behaviors. This is not meant to blame or shame anyone who crates their dog, say, while they're at work. But if you are crating your dog all day during the day, then I would probably be trying to find ways to change that over time. And I probably wouldn't also be crating them overnight. Even sleeping together is a social activity. And so there's a lot of nuance to this conversation, but I just wanted to make really sure that no one is taking from that video about dogs' species typical need for sleep, and using that to say or spread the word or believe that dogs should be crated for that amount of time, because that's not at all what I'm saying.